think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done.
There it is, man. God, I love that. Slam the hammer down, baby. Slam the hammer down. College football kicked off yesterday, and I'm excited. So we got Jackson Johnson. Show that beautiful coffee mug. The voice of college football coffee mug. Available on topqualityshirts.com. Anybody like to check that out? Ah, look there. He's got top 25. It actually makes sense as well on the black mug. Cool.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. So anyway, Jackson, I know you probably didn't catch a single college football game yesterday, did you?
Oh man, there was a lot of unanswered points yesterday, especially in the fourth quarter. Quite a lot of them.
Yeah. So anyway, I want to let everybody know what's going on. So I have decided on Sundays, I'm going to do a college football wrap-up show. We're going to talk about college football from yesterday. If there's games on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, we'll talk about those. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to be able to watch them all, obviously. I didn't get to watch them all yesterday. But I did get to watch a few and enjoyed them and things. So we're going to talk about those games. We're going to talk about every game, but we'll talk about those games. We'll give you scores. We can give you some statistics, some quarterbacks, running backs, things like that, and things. Another thing, too, I've had a lot of people asking me about trivia and wanting to know what happened Friday with trivia. Why didn't we have trivia Friday? So I have changed that too. What I've decided to do is we're going to have trivia, but it's just going to be like check yourself trivia. So I'm going to put a video out probably Tuesday, maybe, probably not Tuesday, a video out of 20 or 30 trivia questions from this past weekend's football game. Watch the video because here's why. Watch them every week because they're just self-rated. It's just going to be the question. It'll give you like 15 seconds to answer for yourself or think about it. And then it's going to give you the answer, right? At the end of the season, if you'll watch all of them every week, at the end of the season, I'm going to do a trivia show probably right after, either right before the, right after the, oh my goodness, I want to try that, conference championship games, right after the conference championship games, or just before the first bowl game. I'm going to do a live trivia show, and all the answers will come off of questions that I asked over the whole year. So, and it might be like, it's going to be tough. But here's the thing about it. I'm going to give away a couple $100 worth of gifts. So, you're going to get a couple $100 worth of gift cards and stuff. A chance to win. Obviously, it won't be a $200 gift card. It'll be, but I will give away probably a $100 gift card, a $50 gift card, $25 gift card, a couple of $10 gift cards. We'll make it worth your while to watch that trivia every week. So be sure you do that. At the end of the year, we're gonna have a nice little trivia game for you guys off of all those trivia games. So anyway, let's talk. Well, should we start with the big game? Oh man, I tell you what. Let's start with the big game, Jackson. Let's talk about Florida State and Georgia Tech. Oh my goodness. Come on. All right, so number 10, Florida State and Georgia Tech. They go to Dublin, Ireland, my friend. So they go to Dublin, right? They're over there playing football. Pat McAfee's there, ESPN, whole crew.
Seamus as the
Florida
guest
State,
speaker.
yeah, Florida State coming in and they're wanting to make a statement, right? They're going to play their absolute best because last year they got their ass snubbed. This time they were the biggest game on television. This was the biggest game of week 0. This is the game that every college football fan was going to be tuned into, whether watching it or just listening to it on the radio or keeping up with the score. Every college football fan kept up with this game, wants to see what Florida State's going to have this year. Jackson, you want to tell them what Florida State's got this year?
They're looking like a disaster. I mean, because I think I'm definitely gonna be eating some crow because it was like a week or so ago. I was replying to a friend of the Voice of College Football, the editor of Noles Game Day, Logan Robinson, where he was like
Yeah.
posting a clip of Paul Feinbaum saying that Florida State is going to be that top 10 team that disappoints. The culture is a disaster over in Tallahassee. And I was like, oh, come on. No. They're pissed off about being left out. They're going to use that as motivation. But then I forget not everybody thinks like me in that case.
Well, you would think they would think that, though. You would think they would think this. You would think it'd be plastered all over that locker room. You were left out last year. You were 12-0 and didn't make the freaking playoff. How does it make you feel?
I'd be pissed. I'd want to show everybody in the ball game and in the regular season, so on and so forth. Do what Penn State did in the 1968 ball game and, in the Orange Bowl in 69 against Missouri.
What they do there?
They won their games. They didn't sit and whine and cry about what could have been, what should have been, what would have been. And I'll give you another example. This team, Alabama, 1967 Sugar Bowl, they're pretty pissed about not getting that third straight national title. So what do? They show the pollsters why you should make us number 1 for 1966. Stomped a mud hole against the Nebraska Cornhuskers 34-7. Now, I know that we're nowhere near like the 60s, but still, though, if I were the players, I'd want to show everyone why you shouldn't leave us out and why it's a dumb move.
Do you remember 2000? Do you remember 2007 and Pat White, Steve Slayton, West Virginia, all of them? How good they were, and then the last game of the year, just going to play for national championship after this game. 24-point favorites against Pitt, their rival. Pitt was horrible. I think Pitt was 3-8 at the time. They were horrible.
4-7.
4-7. Okay, so and West Virginia lays a damn egg. But what did it do? Did they go to their bowl game? Did they go to the Fiesta Bowl against Oklahoma and just sit there and pout and go, "Oh, we could have been playing for that"? No, they showed the country what they were made of and beat the mortal snot out of Oklahoma 48-20 something.
2000 Miami is another example. 2000 Miami, they didn't pout about being left out in favor of Florida State by the BCS. What did they do? They beat the living snot out of Florida in the 01 Sugar Bowl, and then they used that as motivation to win it all in 01. So that's another team right there.
Yeah. You got to find things for motivation. West Virginia was picked 14th out of a 14-team conference last year. West Virginia was picked to finish dead last in the conference. And what did we do? I mean, we finished 4th in the conference. So you use it as motivation. Neil Brown had it pushed up everywhere, all over the place. Last. Exactly. We're last in the conference. We're the worst team in this conference. He motivated that team.
Oh, yeah.
And he's having to motivate them again this year, too, because we're not getting any respect. I'm going to tell you right now, you can say what you want to. I'm a firm believer until I'm proved differently. West Virginia is a top 10 program right now, and I have a feeling we're going to prove that against Penn State. I'm not picking us to win the game. I'm saying Penn State's that good. But I think that this is gonna be such a very daggone close game, you know, that West Virginia could easily pull this out at the end. I think it's gonna be so close. I think it's gonna be 3 or 4 points. I really do. I think West Virginia's a top 10 team, and people are overlooking them. And I
True.
know Penn State's a top 10 team. So, I just really believe that. Now what'll happen? West Virginia loses. It doesn't matter if it's by 1 point or 100 points. West Virginia is going to fall in the rankings even further and have a harder time getting in the top 25, even though they went toe to toe with a Penn State team that might actually have a great chance to have a bye week in the playoffs this year. I actually think they could have a bye week in the playoffs this year. Um, and I realize a lot of people think Oregon and Ohio State are the big dogs in the Big Ten, and they probably are. But Penn State's right there with them, guys.
Well, there's a
So
stat I've
let's
been
see what
well, there's a stat I've been thinking about
yeah.
from Florida State, Georgia Tech. I know that a lot of people talked about Florida State yesterday and what a disaster they are. But I don't ever hear enough of a great coaching job that Brent Key has done in Atlanta and Georgia Tech. Because people got to remember the Yellow Jackets were disastrous under Jeff Collins. They couldn't even get a win against a power team or a team in their conference, let alone top 25 team. Ever since Brent Key became the interim head coach, they have been 5-3 against ranked opponents. And I'm gonna go ahead and show that if it's okay. Go.
Yeah,
Bam.
that's fine.
Here
All
we
right,
go.
there you go.
So ironically, they're 5-3. We see those wins against Pitt, North Carolina, and from the way I'm seeing that team is run, I don't think they're going to be losing to Georgia very long. I mean, I'm not saying the losing streak against Georgia ends this year, but anything can happen in the world of college football. I mean, we saw that Miami game, how that turned out. North Carolina game was on CW, and that Florida State win. That's the first time since 2015 that they have defeated a team in the top 10. That last team kick sits, well, a block sits in 2015 against Florida State on ESPN2. Ironic, huh?
I think the big thing about that right there, you're showing. Scroll back up. You're showing that the win loss thing there against ranked opponents. I think the big thing about that is that's just since 2022, and we're just now started 2024. He's had one game and won it already against a top 10 opponent, supposedly. So,
Well,
and now look, Georgia Tech looked better than Florida State did yesterday. They did, and I think Florida State looked down compared to last year. They just did not look like the same team at all. And like I said, they're in the spotlight. They should have a chip on their shoulder. They should be ready to play football and go. And they didn't have that. So that culture, I agree with Paul Feinbaum. That culture down there has got to be in a mess right now with all this conference realignment, these lawsuits against the ACC. Players don't know where they're going to play. Players don't know what they're going to do. There can't be that great of a culture there right now. And I
no.
think it happened yesterday. I think there was a culture shock. I think they realized that yesterday. So, but let's go over some of these stats here from that game. All right, so the ukulele, Uyunglele, or DJ, not
Oh.
DJ, Uyunglele, 19 of 27, 193 yards, 0 touchdowns, no interceptions, but 0 touchdowns. No, I mean, come on, that's just not that might be okay numbers as far as 19 of 27 for 193. That's okay, but you need to have a touchdown in there. You need to be, you actually need more than that if you're Florida State. All right, so Georgia Tech, they were only through 16 passes, and I'll be honest with you, why not? I mean, Florida State couldn't stop them on the ground. So 11 of 16, 146 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions for Georgia Tech. but they're a running team. Florida State rushing. Their biggest rusher, Rodell Williams, 12 carries for 38 yards and a touchdown. Their total team, 31 carries for 98 yards. Could not even get 100 yards rushing against Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, in the meantime, 36 carries for 190 yards. 36 carries, 190 yards, and 3 touchdowns. Here's the thing about it. Their longest run, Georgia Tech's longest run was 36 yards. Their Florida State's best runner, the best one, only had 38 yards the whole game. And here we had one run of 36 yards by Georgia Tech. Florida State's run defense, obviously not there, Jackson.
No. It's not looking good for Florida State. I mean, I began to wonder, and I talked about with last night with Austin on Sports Talk with Austin and Spaz, co-host of Duts Live last night on the Final Whistle. I'm beginning to wonder if 2024 Florida State is like 2023 USC. That's who I'm wondering if they're like. Because that's just going to be my comparison for now.
So you're thinking decent offense. They didn't even have decent offense yesterday. But
No.
but the defense is just going to be like in the dumpster. You think? Is that what you mean by the USC?
Well,
'Cause their
more
defense was
like more like they started the season in the top 10, but then they fell apart out of
because they
their
couldn't find a defense.
Mhm. Well, and it's
Let's
looking
face it,
like
they couldn't
Florida
find a defense.
State can't find a quarterback. That's the thing.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
should have
Speaking
got
of that,
Grayson Hall from Coastal Carolina.
yeah. Speaking of that, so all right, so we know Georgia Tech's a running team, right? But
Mhm.
look at this: Florida State receiving. Their best receiver had 4 catches for 55 yards. Georgia Tech's best receiver had 4 catches for 66 yards. So even that was more. As a team, Florida State, 19 receptions, 193 yards. Georgia Tech only had 11 receptions because they ran the daggone ball so much, but they still had 146 yards receiving. So even the secondary for Florida State, if you think about it, that's given up almost 11 yards
Yeah.
a reception. So even the secondary for Florida State may not be up to snuff. You know, I don't think they was taking Georgia Tech lightly. I think they went to Dublin to make a statement, right? They were supposed to anyway.
Yeah. And whatever momentum they had from the Gasparilla Bowl and that dominant victory over Central Florida, it obviously carried on over to Dublin, Ireland for the Yellow Jackets. Now, I want to compare Brent Key to like Bobby Dodd, but we're not there yet, but we'll get there eventually. If he keeps winning games like this, then we can make that conversation. But I think we can go ahead and compare it to like Paul Johnson or somebody of that nature. I mean, he's obviously way better than Chan Galley and Jeff Collins. But my question is as well for the Yellow Jackets, is this game going to go to their heads when they go against Georgia State next Saturday on the ACC network? Because don't forget, the top 25 is not going to release this Sunday. It's going to release on the day after
Right.
Labor Day. So, Georgia Tech, if you're watching this, do not let that victory against Florida State go to your heads.
I don't think they will. I really don't, because Georgia Tech's a pretty solid program, right? I mean, they're a well-established program. It's not like they haven't beaten top 10 teams before. It's not like
Correct.
this was it's not like an Appalachian State win over Michigan that year, right? This is not like that at all.
No.
This is a good Georgia Tech team that took down a top 10 team. They're not going to let that go to their head. I think if anything, they're going to use it for fuel. I think it'll drive them and move them forward because of their culture down there. So let's talk about the ACC. So this is just a poison culture. The whole culture of the ACC right now, because everything's in limbo. They needed to get this stuff settled. And I think we seen that yesterday. Number one with Florida State, and number two with SMU. I mean, my goodness, Jackson,
Mm.
what's going on in the ACC? SMU should have handled Nevada easily.
I think honestly they weren't really thinking about Nevada. I think that's their problem there. But luckily they realize, oh man, it's fourth quarter. We gotta get rolling, boys. So what they do? They scored 16 unanswered points to end the game, including a Preston Stone game-winning touchdown pass to tight end RJ Maryland for the game winner.
That was a lucky catch. That was a lucky catch.
Oh yeah, but it was huge right there. But how
Yeah,
about that
but I mean, still.
safety? The first safety of the year by SMU. That was pretty huge. I forget his name. He's a D lineman, but his name is defensive tackle. My mistake. Anthony Booker Jr. That was huge. Like he made that game go to 24-23.
Yeah.
But I think like
All
for
right. So let's look
SMU,
at.
this was
Let's,
like an off day, and I think we'll know a little more about them, especially in their upcoming slates against BYU in week 2, week 4 on the CW matchup against TCU and Florida State and Louisville after that as well.
so if we look at the box score, for instance, of the SMU uh, team and SMU and Nevada, we look at the box score. SMU had 22 first downs to Nevada's 16 first downs, right? So if we look at the third down efficiency, though, SMU was 5 of 12, Nevada was 8 of 18. So probably about the same there. Fourth down efficiency, SMU was 0 for 1, and Nevada was 0 for 2. But like I said, SMU beat them pretty solidly on the box score, and they beat them on the scoreboard, but they had to come back. But they had 408 total yards compared to 298 for Nevada. You know, and they did it in 69 plays. Nevada had 71 plays. So average per play was 5.9 yards for SMU, 4.2 yards for Nevada. So SMU might need to shore up a little bit of defense there if Nevada's getting 4.2 yards every time they touch the ball. SMU may need to shore up a little bit of defense before they go playing teams out of the ACC. You feel the same way there, Jackson?
Oh yeah. I
The,
I know
I'm
this is like too early to think about, and I think we'll have more of like an answer by the time we get to like week 6, week 7, week 8. But the ACC, is it looking like that we're going to see 2 playoff teams, or are we just going to see like only the conference champion in the playoff field?
Well, it's just way too early to tell that, but at the same time, man, just from what we've seen from the team that was supposed to be one of the premier teams yesterday in Florida State, and mind you, Georgia Tech could be the 2021 Pittsburgh Panthers, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Pitt kind of won the ACC as a shock to everybody. So maybe Georgia Tech is just that as good as that Pitt team was, and they can come out and win the conference. So I'm thinking. I'm thinking that I see you out there, Gutters. Thanks for being here, honey. Um, I think that Georgia Tech might be a little bit better than I had given them credit for. To be honest, I had not given Georgia Tech 25 seconds of thought this whole season, whole off season. I really hadn't. But now I got to start paying attention to them because, hey, you went to Ireland and you beat a top 10 team, supposedly top 10 team. This team might be ready to play some football. Georgia Tech could be a sleeper in the ACC now. So
I always
Miami,
hate it that
Miami,
people
watch
are
out.
I always hate it when people count out Georgia Tech in general, whether if it's like even discussing like competing for a conference title or conference realignment or anything in general, because it's like people tend to forget, hey, you got that Atlanta market, and they got a pretty good football history. And I know they haven't. They're not exactly Alabama, Oklahoma, Nebraska, Ohio State, Michigan, Texas, Oklahoma. I get that, but at the same time, they still got a pretty good football history. And the job that Brent Key's doing this season so far, momentum's going to continue.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Now, I'm trying for some reason. Jackson, keep talking a second because I'm having some trouble with my computer here, and it keeps trying to put me off the screen.
Oh yeah.
So I'll be right back.
Well, another game that was on my mind was New Mexico, Montana State, and I know what a lot of people are thinking. What you think about that game for? Well, I mean, it is week 0, so you gotta watch what you can. So this was the first game of the Bronco Mendenhall era in low
Jackson,
level.
Jackson. I'm sorry, it's a little bit more difficult than I thought. I'll be right back. Okay, I'll
All
be
right,
right
man.
back. It's a little bit more difficult than I thought to fix this.
Well, chat. Any of you watched New Mexico, Montana State, or any of the other games besides Florida State, Georgia Tech, SMU, Nevada? Let me know what you think. Matter of fact, also let Joey know what you think. Now, Montana State, New Mexico. Few things that have been coming to mind for me. It's going to take a little while longer for Bronco Mendenhall to get his culture in at New Mexico. Because, I mean, it took him a while to build Virginia into a division, a division contender, like when they were competing for division titles at Virginia, right? And we saw some of the magic he pulled at BYU, although he was not quite as good as Lavelle Edwards, but still, though, he still did awesome at BYU. But Montana State head coach Brent Vegan, now he's got a pretty good record. He's now 34-9 with that victory over New Mexico. He's now 34-9 as head coach, going in the start of his 4th season. And he was an assistant coach under Craig Bowl in the 2000s and until he left for Wyoming in 2013. And he was his right-hand man at Wyoming from 2014 to 2020 until he got the call for Montana State. And, this is something we don't see every day, but Montana State was an 11.5 favorite against New Mexico. We don't see FCS schools getting favored against the FBS schools, but it was pretty huge right there. And, they
Okay,
did
I
win
think
by
I
4.
got it fixed now. Think I got it fixed now. Thank you, Jackson.
Oh,
No,
you're
I
welcome.
had one of my grandsons wanted to sync his game up to my computer earlier, and that's what was making everything mess up. It was like running in the background, so I had to change some stuff over. But appreciate you covering for me, Jackson, there a second. All right, so I wanted to say something though before a while ago. Hey, guess who's number 1 in the ACC right now? Any Florida State fans in here? I'm just wondering. Uh, who's number 1 in the ACC right now? I just want to go and I just want to hear every Florida State fan type in. Well, Georgia Tech's number 1 in the ACC, but we're only 1 game behind them.
It feels kind of similar to Clemson Duke last year, because it was like not a whole lot of people expected it, but then it happened. So
I might have to go troll some Florida State people this week and tell them you're only 1 game behind Georgia Tech. You can do it.
But also, of course, you could
I
tune
know.
in to the post-game show from our friend George Georgitis at the Renegade Report, who is co-host of Seminoles Live every Wednesday afternoon, 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, as he went over his takeaways from the Florida State-Georgia Tech matchup. And I will say, though, it's a pretty wild ride, and Yeah, we wish the Seminoles a lot of luck in 2024. They'll definitely need it. As for Georgia Tech, congratulations. But don't forget, tune in to the Renegade Report post-game show at The Voice College Football and on Florida State Football at The Voice College Football from yesterday.
Good deal. Now, I got a question for you. Did you talk about the Montana State New Mexico game while I was away there a while ago?
Yeah.
'Cause
Yes, I did.
well, I'm just trying to figure out Montana State, New Mexico State. Why were people surprised by that? And hey, Dylan, can you turn your camera on for me just a second? Okay, thanks, Dylan.
Sure.
All right, man. What's going on, brother?
Nothing much. I told everybody that Georgia Tech was going to beat Florida State.
And you know, I did not give Georgia Tech a chance. I just didn't. I wasn't giving. I told you. I'm not lying. I give Georgia Tech 25 seconds of thought this year. You know, when I had to think about, all right, what's Georgia Tech's record going to be? It literally took me 25 seconds to think. Probably about 7-5, 8-4, maybe. I just automatically thought that. I don't know now. They you know, beating Florida State like that. Is Florida State just that bad, or is Georgia Tech that good? Florida Tech looked pretty good, but they both look pretty bad at times. But it is game one, right? That's what you play game one for. There's going to be mistakes. So you have to look at that and think, if Georgia Tech cleans their little mistakes up from yesterday, they can be a really good team.
Yeah. I didn't know this until I was watching another show last night. DJU in the first half was 12 for 14, and on he was averaging -0.1 yards in the first half passing, because everything he was doing was behind the line of scrimmage.
So, yeah, I've then took the stats down, but the Georgia Tech good running game. Is it Georgia Tech's got a good running game, or does Florida State have a bad defense in your opinion, Dylan?
I think Georgia Tech has a good running game, and Florida State only. I think Georgia Tech might have a good defense this year, because they held Florida State to 98 rushing yards yesterday.
Yeah. All them Georgia teams run. Georgia Tech, Georgia State. You know, they're all big running teams. So, but Georgia State run the wishbone up until like about 2 years ago. Still, didn't they, Jackson? Was that Georgia State that run the wishbone
until the beginning of the Jeff Collins era?
Yeah. So, yeah,
I miss that triple option offense / wishbone. I miss it.
Yeah. You know, I think we're going to see kind of a similar thing to that at West Virginia this year. You know, Dana kind of did a similar thing to that at one time. But this year we've got such a great set of running backs back there and a scrambling quarterback. I could see almost like a triple wishbone option back there. To be honest, you know. But, I mean, we're going to see a lot of RPOs. We're going to see a lot of RPOs. So. Anyway, Dylan. So what other games you watched yesterday, Dylan, besides the Florida State Georgia game?
I watched a couple of FCS games in SMU and Montana State
Nevada.
and New Mexico. Yeah.
Did the SMU Nevada game, did that surprise you any?
Yeah. I felt like
so between SMU and Florida State, which one's the worst in the conference right now? Just between them two, who's worse, Florida State or SMU?
I think it has to be SMU, because
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I thought they were going to blow out Nevada.
Yeah, especially since they played Nevada.
Yeah. The spread was like 27.5, and they only won by like 8. No,
But I
they
know a lot
won
of
by
us were
5.
talking on Discord. I I know a lot of us were talking on Discord, and not too many people were actually surprised by that score or surprised by that. Was you surprised by the final score of that game, Jackson? 29-24? I'm
No.
sorry, yeah, 29-24. I was surprised, on the SMU Nevada game that a lot of people are like, "I'm not surprised at that." I don't know why. But the Montana State New Mexico game, everybody was surprised at it. And then I got on Discord and nobody was surprised at it. Everybody was like, "I kind of expected that." And that you felt that way too, didn't you, Jackson? Didn't you type in Discord that you kind of expected a game like that?
Well, and honestly, I noticed that Montana State was the favorite in that game because I mentioned a little while ago, where you were getting some stuff fixed. I mentioned that Montana State was the favorite over New Mexico, and it's something you don't see every day. Seeing an FCS team being favored over an FBS team, especially FCS teams not named North Dakota State, and I'm beginning to wonder if Montana State head coach Brent Vegan is a coaching candidate. And that's just going to be the question I ask for the rest of the week and for the rest of the year. Because I mean, I think any Group of 5 team that wants a head coach or any Power 4 team that wants them, they should get him. Get him before he becomes like super hot as a candidate. Get him
Yeah.
while not a whole lot of people are watching him.
So that line on that game yesterday, Florida State was favored by 10.5 over Tech.
Oh
Anybody
yeah.
bet on that game made a little bit of change there. So that was pretty cool. So, all right, let's look at something here. I was going to mention this a while ago. We talked about this. Actually, we talked about this, but somebody just came in the chat and was mentioning this, and I wanted to bring these stats back up one more time, and I got to find them again. All right, so Florida State, as far as rushing, net yards rushing, Florida State had 98. Georgia Tech had 190. If we look at net yard passing, Florida State had 193, but Georgia Tech still had 146. And they only threw 16 passes. And they were 11 of 16, so only 11 connected, and they got 146 yards passing. Florida State threw for 193 yards, but they were 19 of 27. They threw 27. So Georgia Tech's defense might be pretty good as well. So I just think that Florida State kind of got overwhelmed by a team that was ready to play, both offense and defense. It looked to me like, especially running that ball. My goodness, Georgia Tech looked good running the ball.
Yeah.
Anyway, Dylan, you got anything else for us, man?
Has the spirit of the West Virginia game went down anymore?
Now, repeat that for me.
Has the spirit of the West Virginia game this coming weekend went down anymore? Or is it still
Last one I
8
seen
and
was
a half?
9. Well, the last one I seen was 9. So yeah, I know it was going down. What was kind of crazy about it, it went from 12 to 11.5 to 11 to 10.5 to 10, and it came down a half every time, and it did that really quickly. I mean, especially when people started betting when it's getting closer to the season, that spread flipped. Now, I project, this is my projection, is that it'll go back up. I think people will start throwing some money on Penn State now, and I think the line will finally settle somewhere around 9.5 or 10. That's what I think.
Yeah.
Especially now that this weekend's over, starting tomorrow, you'll start seeing a lot of money being thrown on Penn State because the line's gotten so low. But still, yet, I mean, it may not even go up. It might just settle right where it is and stay there. That'd be all right with me too, because there is still a lot of money being bet on West Virginia in that game, and I think West Virginia can pull that game out. I really do.
Yeah.
So did anybody
what
stay
about,
up way past their Did anybody stay up way past their bedtime last night and watch the Hawaii Delaware State game?
I was doing my best to find it in my location, but even I couldn't get it. But I was like, I made sure to keep it on a little bit here and there, anything that I could find.
Yeah. Did you watch any of it, Dylan, or did you get to watch it?
It wasn't in my area either. I kept up with it on ESPN, the score anyway.
Well, I went to bed. I was tired, and well, Traveling Fools and I talked about maybe going live, and I called him at like 10:30, 10:45 to see if we was, and he was doing something, so we decided not to go live. So I went to bed. I was really tired. You sat and watch football all day. It's hard to stay up and watch Hawaii. I'd like to watch that game, but I think TF said he watched some of it. But Hawaii 35, Delaware State 14. I don't think that's any big surprise, um, you know, at all. So that's probably the only game that really went the way everybody expected, right?
Yeah.
Hawaii jumped out to a really early lead, and that one it looks like. So it's kind of what everybody expected is that Hawaii would win that one pretty easy. Anyway, let's see some of these comments out here. So let me tell everybody thank you for coming in. Thanks for coming in. Everybody out here in the chat with us, Traveling Fools. Keep chopping out there. Todd Gwynn's in here with us. Appreciate you, Todd. Go to the pub, stopping by. She's probably not in here with us now, but she stops by and gives us a thumbs up and a howdy. Appreciate her. Shannon Miller. So he's asking, are y'all ready to burn some couches next Saturday? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I burn a couch every damn year. And I usually save up for a big game. And I just don't know which game to use it for this year. Penn State or Pitt. If we beat Penn State, though, that's going to be a bigger win than over Pitt. So, yeah, I'll probably burn it then. What was that, Jackson?
I was gonna say, Traveling Fool's latest comment in the chat, he said that he watched a Hawaii game, but it was so bad YouTube wasn't even blocking the live streams of it. Oh my god! Oh man!
So we got to keep chopping in here. Like I said, we have Seriously Podcast in there with us. How goes it? He said, Serious Podcast. Appreciate you being here.
How you doing, dude?
John Johnson, appreciate you being here. Of course, Dylan, who's in here with us right now. We're down to West Johnson again. This was guess how the Yellow Jackets won? They did it Michigan style. They even ran the same place. Pretty true. That's actually pretty true. I'm not going to say they was as efficient as Michigan doing it, but that maybe they did kind of look like a Michigan team. So, yeah. Shannon Miller in here with us. He's I love it when the national media darlings like Florida State get beat. Let's add to it. Exactly. Penn State. Let's take down Penn State. Let's go Mountaineers. Anto says even Georgia Tech statistics were like Michigan. Yeah, that's pretty much the same question. But they barely used the quarterback, and when he did have a chance, he made the most of it. Yeah, 11 of 19, I think it was. Georgia Tech's quarterback, 11 of 19 for 146 yards. I think is what I said. And if you think about it, Florida State threw the ball 27 times. There were 21 of 27 or something. They only had 190, so they got 50 more yards. On 17 more passes, 16 more passes. So yeah, Georgia Tech, they did. They played that game really well. They knew what was working, and they kept doing it, running the ball. And so hats off to them. Georgia Tech style is effective when you're good in the trenches. It also served K-State well. Yes, it has served K-State well. And trenches are real important, and that's where I think a lot of people are underestimating West Virginia this year. They think, well, you lost Zach Frazier last year. You're not going to be the same. Hey, look. Yeah, we are. We're probably going to be a little bit better this year because that left guard out there, Wyatt Myman, he hadn't given up a sack in 2 years. He only gave up 3 hurries all year last year. He's a pretty daggone good player, and he could block 2 or 3 guys sometimes. I mean, he's really good. I can guarantee you, I feel like he's going to be a first-round pick in the NFL this year, Wyatt Myman. So, all right, That's the people like to criticize so-called caveman football, but it still works, especially when people don't play that style or use it anymore. I love, I love power football. Hey, give me, give me a 12 personnel set, right? Or give me a 11 personnel, right? So you got one tight end, you got a running back, or 12 personnel, run one tight end, a running back, and a fullback out there. Give me that fullback, that lead blocker going in there and just power running it straight down the throat. I love that. That's what I liked about Steve Slayton, Owen Spit back in those days. Power football. Rich Rodriguez ran some power football. People thought he was a run and gun fun offense. He ran the ball down your throat. And then he had the quarterback that could throw the ball over top of your head and get it to somebody and beat your ass deep. Uh, yeah, there's your watched it. YouTube was so bad. YouTube was even blocking the live stream. Yeah, a WU football guy going deep. He says, "Hey Joey, have you made the announcement you mentioned was coming in a few days?" I started to earlier, and I talked about it for a second, but I'm gonna announce it again here in a second. And what me and you had talked about, I haven't announced that at all, but I have a couple of announcements, so I'm not sure which one you're talking about. Um, Even Georgia Tech coach was an offensive line coach, and he said our coach liked to say, "Run the damn ball." That run the damn ball. So, so anyway, I appreciate everybody coming in tonight. We had a lot of people jump in there. So anyway, Dylan, you got any more questions? Got anything to talk about? Any other games? I mean, there were other football games on yesterday, but we mentioned 4 of them. We talked about them. Now we want to do this every Sunday. Probably going to go live either 2 or 3 o'clock. Shane's mom's birthday's today. So happy birthday to her.
To Shane's
I think he
mama.
said 80. Yeah, I think he said she's 80 today, 80 or 81. I can't remember. But happy birthday to Shane's mom out there. We love you and appreciate you for Shane. Because Shane does a great job for us here. But Shane will be back with me next Sunday, and we will do this kind of show. Just going to sit and talk. And next Saturday or this week, we've got some really good games coming up. So we're looking forward to being able to talk about that next Sunday. But we haven't set our time yet. It's going to be somewhere between 2 and 3. We think 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. You know, never. We probably won't go no later than 4 o'clock starting it. We're going to be somewhere in that area. We want to be between church time, right? We don't want to keep anybody from. We want everybody to be able to go to church and come on, maybe sit and watch a football show, and before they go back to church. So we're going to start doing this every Sunday. Now, as far as the other announcement, couple of announcements. So the trivia games on Friday night. I didn't play trivia this past Friday night. The reason why is what I've decided to do is I'm going to make a trivia video. I'm going to put it out probably about on Tuesdays. And it's going to be like 20 questions. That's going to cover nothing but the past weekend's games. So this past weekend's games on Tuesday, I'm going to have a trivia game. I don't know how many questions will be on it. It might have 20 questions. It might have 50 questions. I don't know. But it'll be self-graded. You just sit there and you read the question. It'll give you like 10, 15 seconds to come to the answer. And then it'll show you the answer. So you'll know. But at the end of the season, after the conference championship games, sometime after the conference championship games and before bowl kickoff season, we're going to play a trivia game to cover the whole season. And all the questions will come from the questions that I'll ask all through the year or all through the season. So watch trivia every week. And then the final trivia, you should be able to ace. And we're going to have a couple $100 worth of prizes for you guys. I mean, we're going to give away some good stuff. I don't know if I'm going to give away $100 gift cards to the merchandise store or what I'm going to do there. I may just get some of the best items, like maybe a bomber jacket, maybe a nice duffel bag, one of them $70, $80 Spalding duffel bags we carry. It might be something like that. But bottom line, everybody will have a chance to win that, and everybody can ace that test because all you got to do is watch the trivia videos every week on Tuesday. At the end of the year, you should be able to ace it because All of my questions at the end of the year will come off this video. Now, number 2 thing, a lot of people have been asking, we've been talking about shows and the way the shows are working. So here's how we're doing it for the college football season right now. Tuesday night, Shane had to move to Tuesday nights. He used to be on Fridays. He had to move to Tuesdays. His son's playing high school football, and he wouldn't want me to say it, but his son got their butt handed to them last week, like 35-0 or something like that. But yeah. So anyway, so his son's playing high school football, and so he can't do Friday nights anymore. He's got to move back to Tuesdays for the football season. We're having him on Tuesday. On Wednesday is just like always, Mountaineer Locker Room, then and out with Frank Beer, Coach Greg Chris, Mickey Plumley. They've got so many great guys over there that do an amazing job on that show. You will get to meet players that you literally can't remember until you hear their name and you're like, wow, okay. They have some of the best players in the history of college football on that show. In the history of West Virginia football, let's put it that way. So be sure you tune into that every Wednesday night. You don't want to miss that. I do know that some of the people that they're talking to come on the show, and we're going to have the president of the director rather of the NIL program for West Virginia University up there at the trust. So we'll have him on. I know they're talking to some former coaches. I won't say who, and they may be coming on. So I mean, it's they have a great show. All right, Thursday nights is me and Shane. We do what's called crossover. A crossover is a show to where we might take rivals of like Pitt, Penn State, and West Virginia. All 3 of them are rivals with each other. West Virginia, Penn State, Pitt, West Virginia, Pitt. All of them are rivals. West Virginia Tech and Pitt. That'd be another rival. So we get people in that are from a rival team, but we like to call it crossover because we bring 2 rivals in, and those 2 are rivals with each other. So it's kind of a little fun show that we do, and it doesn't always come together because that's a really hard show to get because you're thinking you got to get 2 people that know about the history of the programs on both shows or from both teams. Then on Friday nights, I don't know yet. That's where I'm trying to fill in. I'm trying to fill in either Monday or Friday. And this is the other announcement. I'm looking for somebody to do a show on Monday and Friday. Monday or Friday, not both times. Here's what I'd like for you to do, though, because there's a lot of videos out there. There's a lot of people wanting to do shows and things, and you can get you can come over here and we don't have a huge audience in here very very often, but we do have a lot of views on our videos. We do have a lot of subscribers, and then there's a whole network, right? The whole network of the Voice of College Football. So that's got probably, if you've added it all up, well over 1 million followers across the platform. So you can kind of help you get recognized, get known, things like that because you're on the network. I'm looking for that from somebody that would like to come in and do that, but I'd like for you to send me a video. And what I want you to do is just talk about college football, your history of it, where you started and things, and just put it on video. You don't have to type this into an email or anything. Put it on video. You can make it unpublished, and send me the link to it, and only I can watch it. Don't make it private. I won't be able to see it. Just make it unpublished, and I can watch it, and nobody else will be able to see it. That's what I'd like for you to do. And what I want you to do is I want you to use the background that you're going to use when you're on the show to make sure that you're at the right location. I want you to use the mic you're going to use. I want you to use every setup you're going to use when you do a show, because I want to see everything so I can get a good representation of who you are. Let me know what kind of show you want to do. Do you want to cover everything nationally? Do you want to cover West Virginia? Do you want to cover West Virginia and Marshall? Maybe, do you want to just talk baseball? Do you want to talk football? What do you want to do? So that's what I like for you to do. So anybody would like to make videos for this channel or do a live show either on Monday or Friday night, send me a video. My email is footballnewshour@gmail.com. Footballnewshour@gmail.com. I'm sure that Jackson will type that in there for me real quick. Um, send me an email with a link to that video, wherever you save it at or wherever you put it, so I can watch it because that'll tell me a lot. That'll tell me a lot about your background in college football. I'd like to know because I can't sit and watch all your videos on YouTube to find out how knowledgeable you are about college football. I like to know your background and where you come from. So give me that as well in the video. But that's my announcement. So I'm looking forward to filming the Monday or Friday night. And then also, don't forget, we're going to have preseason shows every week. It's going to be alternating back and forth as to who's going to do those. I'm probably going to do most of them. I really like doing pregame shows. So I'll do pregame shows next week. I'll do everything I can to get some former football players, some big time college football players from West Virginia onto the show to hang out and do that before the game. And then have them come back after the game for the post game show because we got a post game show too. And that's going to be hosted by Frank Fear and Coach Greg Chris this year. And we will still have Country Roads webcast. They did our shows, post game shows for a lot of years. They will be coming in with Frank and them when they can and hanging out and saying hi and talking about the games. But they're going to be at every game this year, and so they not going to have internet real good. They're afraid they're not going to be able to host the post game show. So Frank Fear and Greg Fish are going to pick up that. So that is our schedule right now, and I will take a independent video of that schedule so everybody knows what's going on in this channel. Because I know things change around a lot, but it's football season now, guys. No more of this fun and games, trivia, and hanging out. And hey, who's got the best football helmet? And who wears the prettiest colors of jerseys or whatever? We're done with that. We're talking college football now. This is where the rubber meets the road, right? Right, Jackson. This is where
Absolutely.
where we finally all year long. Gosh, y'all don't know what we go through as content creators to sit here and try to come up with ideas to talk about. And you get so sick of talking about conference realignment, and I get tired of preview and prediction videos when I have no idea. Do you know what? The B12 this year, Cincinnati Bearcats may win it. Who knows? None of us have an idea yet. None of us. I'm really high on West Virginia. West Virginia could finish last. They could be the worst team in college football. I don't know. Right? Now, I can guarantee you that's not going to happen, but I'm just saying we don't know yet. And I love that aspect of college football where I'm making my predictions and my guesses, about that I predicted Utah is going to go to Oklahoma State this year and lose. I love being able to do that and then looking back at it after it happens and saying, yep, told you it was going to happen. Jackson, tell everybody what you got going on in your channel, man.
Well, they can find me on Jackson Johnson 979, of course, and they can also find my latest episode of the Jacksonian with Alex Dono, the host of Locked On Canes and Locked On ACC, where we discussed an awful lot about the future of Florida Miami beyond 2025. And we talked a little bit about the ACC, like SMU and Cal and Stanford joining the ACC. So that was pretty huge right there. And it'll be interesting to see what happens for the 2024 season. Is this year the year where Miami wins the ACC? Can they end that conference title drought? Will we see a Miami Florida State rematch in the ACC title game? Although, let's be honest, that's not going to happen, is it? So we'll have to wait another year for a Miami Florida State Conference title rematch. But for those that tuned in on last night's edition of The Voice of College Football, where Mark discussed the post game takes on SMU, Nevada, Florida State, Georgia Tech, New Mexico, and Montana State. Starting tomorrow afternoon at 5 p.m. Central Time, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, I will be hosting a new show called Crimson Tide Live Monday afternoons on Alabama football at the Voice of College Football and on SEC football at the Voice of College Football, where we go over our latest takes on the Alabama Crimson Tide, news and notes, and what's going on with Alabama going into week one, especially how we're going to be without Nick Saban. And let me tell you something, folks, it'll be a wild ride.
So let me tell you something, everybody. 6 days from now, noon, Saturday, Penn State, West Virginia, in Morgantown. It's going to be amazing. Last time Penn State was in Morgantown, not the last time ever in Morgantown, but the time we beat them, right here on the screen, in 1984, we had lost so many games to Penn State. And we finally, we got Don Nehlen in there, and we had been a couple years under Don Nehlen, but he had lost Penn State, but they were closer games. And then finally, in '84, we started beating Penn State, and the tide's gonna turn. We kind of did pretty good, but they joined the Big Ten, we joined the Big East. We were both independents in '84, so but this was an amazing game. Paul Woodside put WVU up 10-7 right here in the fourth quarter with a 49-yard field goal. And then one of the biggest plays of the game right here, John Moses and Brad Hunt celebrate that fumble. They caused the Penn State to fumble right there, and then Pat Randolph, who was on the show here with the Mountaineer Locker Room not too long ago, takes off, scores the game-winning touchdown. That went on to seal the deal. West Virginia finally beats Penn State 17-14 in 1984 after so many years of losing. Penn State winning so many national championships. We finally did it. And then, so, hey, pretty daggone exciting. That will happen again this weekend. But here's what's going to say on the scoreboard. It's going to say, "We told you, we're back. We're back, guys." I think this is a very, very, very good West Virginia team. I have not said that for a couple of years. I thought last year we were good, and I kept telling everybody, y'all might be surprised. I think we can win 7 or 8 games here, and we did. We went 9-4 overall, but 8-4 on the season. So we won 7 or 8 games. I'm telling you, this year it's a 10 or 11 wins season, and I would not be surprised if we can get by Penn State. I would not be shocked if we could go undefeated. I think this is a really, really good West Virginia team.
National perception, in a way.
Well, let's face it. West Virginia may not be the biggest brand in the Big 12 by a lot of people think. But if you look at it, West Virginia is the biggest brand in the Big 12. If you actually look up things and figure it out, you find out West Virginia probably is the biggest brand in the Big 12. Also, you find out we're the winningest program in the Big 12. And nobody has as many wins as us. And when you think about it, in the Big 12, you're looking at teams that played in lower levels. A lot of these teams played lower level football for so many years. West Virginia's always played with the big boys. A lot of people say, well, that was back when you didn't play with anybody. That's not true. We've always played the Penn States and the Pittsburghs. And Pittsburghs and Penn States were damn good teams. We're talking way on back there in the 40s and 50s, they were still good teams. West Virginia, 1922, can claim a national championship for 1922 if they wanted to. I don't think they ever claimed it. So we still don't have a national championship. But we've always played with the big boys, guys. And we don't back away. We don't back down. That's the West Virginia way. That's like in 2014, we played Jackson Johnson's Alabama Crimson Tide game 1. We didn't care. Hey, they were number 1 in the country. Didn't bother us. We weren't ranked. We didn't care. That's a damn good game. Anybody watch that game thinks Alabama just beat the snot out of us? Oh no, they didn't. Alabama got their ass handed to them most of the time. I mean,
Everybody
we
brings
were
their everybody brings their A game against the Blue Bloods
yeah,
in all college football for sure.
exactly. And then that A game will be coming out this weekend. And Penn State is not Alabama 2014. This
True.
Penn State team is not Alabama 2014. I'm gonna tell you right now, this team, this West Virginia team's better, a lot better than that 2014 team was.
But
Watch out.
it's a shame Penn State, West Virginia haven't been able to play each other a lot prior to last year because it was like I like to think about what would have been in like say 2005 and 2007. That would have been
Yeah,
a huge contest right there. Because I mean, all that stuff where I looked at the last time Penn State lost to West Virginia in State College was in 1954. We didn't even have Gunsmoke on CBS back then. I Love Lucy
right.
was like the premier TV show back then. So
Right.
it was, yeah. And, there's some
It
people that
wasn't
couldn't
until
even afford TV.
we could never, we could never beat Penn State. I mean, we did a few times through the years, but until '84, we just couldn't beat them. I mean, literally just could not beat them. And then '84, we won in '84. I think we won in '86 and '88, and I can't remember. But they left and went to the Big Ten. We left, went to the Big East. That was '91. And then they didn't get invited to the Big East. They applied. They were denied. They wanted basketball schools, I think, more than anything in the Big East then. That it was a basketball run conference, pretty much. It was Georgetown, Villanova, those guys. They said no to Penn State, you know. So, but they brought West Virginia in. Penn State went to the Big Ten, and the rest is history. Penn State, you know, has had some tremendous success. So, I'm really looking forward to this game though, because I really believe this is the best team since 2007 for sure. I mean, but this team reminds me of the 2005 Mountain. A little bit of hype, but not a lot of hype. Oh, they might be able to be okay. And then they come in and just totally dominate and then go on to beat Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, you know. So that's kind of like this team to me. I'm not saying that anybody on this team is Pat White and Steve Slayton. That was when they were freshmen. I'm not saying any of these players are like that because those guys were really good. But these guys are really good too. And yeah, if you think about Pat White and Steve Slayton and how good they were in 2005, and you think that they were freshmen, I mean, that was the first game they'd ever even been in. And they was just getting out there and playing in 2005. So how good they were, this team is as good as that right now. I believe that the Pat White of 2005 and the green of 2024 pretty similar. And that's Steve Slayton and Jaheim White. Oh hell, Jaheim White I think can pass Steve Slayton sometimes the way he can run. So yeah, it's gonna be an interesting game with Penn State, and I think a lot of people are overlooking this West Virginia team that's pretty daggone good, guys. Pretty daggone good. What do y'all think out there in the chat? West Virginia gonna beat Penn State? Think there's a good chance. I'm not calling on them to beat them. I'm really not. I'm not calling. I think Penn State's going to win the game. And sorry about that, Mountaineer fans. But I think it's going to be so close that people are going to have to talk about West Virginia. And that's why I say I think West Virginia can pull it out. We can beat them. But, they're going to fight, and they're a good team. They're not. I did a video earlier in the year at the live show, and I said, is West Virginia underrated or is Penn State overhyped? Penn State's not overhyped. West Virginia is underrated. So that's what I said then. That's what I say now. Penn State's not overhyped. So we go in there or not go in there, but they come here and we can beat them, make a good showing for the Big 12. Most important game in the Big 12 all year long. It's not a bigger game in the Big 12. So, anyway, All right, Jackson, got anything else, brother?
That's about it. I'm just ready for week 1 to start rocking and rolling. I am all set.
I really appreciate you coming in with me today and hanging
Oh,
out.
thank you
It's a
for
lot of fun.
thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. I lost track of time for a little bit. I was like, oh man, I was getting ready and all that.
So, I don't really have an outro to play, but I do want to play a little something. So, I'm gonna go ahead and just play our crossover video because it's different than the intro video, even though it's the same song. But it's different with some different players and some different hits. So I'll play that one for you as we leave. Everybody appreciate you coming in. Be sure you hit the like button. If you're not subscribed to the channel, be sure you do that. I will see everybody again real soon. Probably Monday night or Tuesday.
I think the girls with their nails done now. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails done.